This meeting is being recorded.
It really is. Welcome to this recorded meeting. I am delighted to be joined on this episode by comics creator Dean Rankin. Did I get your last name correct? I should have
You
asked
did
that.
actually, yeah. I've heard a lot of variations. I've had Dean Rankine, which is always a little bit fun, but Dean Rankine. But yeah, Dean Rankin is actually the correct pronunciation. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad I got that right. And so I'll mention a couple of titles, but then if there's anything that I miss, and there's been a lot, that you've done. So I'm sure I'll miss something. There's Rick and Morty. There is The Simpsons, Futurama. I believe there's some Hellboy work that's out there. Love some.
Yeah, a couple pages in Hellboy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I Hate Fairyland with Scotty Young. And then I am going to make sure I get this title right. Itty Bitty Bunnies. Itty Bitty Bunnies.
Itty Bitty Bunnies in Rainbow Pixie Candyland.
Yes, yeah. Love it.
Which is not for children, which is about naked drug-using bunny rabbits. And not for kids.
Right. That one's not for kids. The rest of them are pretty kid friendly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And you have to know that going in. That gets to some of the humor that we'll talk about on the episode as well. But did I miss anything as far as titles? There's also Australian Mad.
Invader Zim. On book series here in Australia, because I'm Australian, in case you didn't pick up the accent, and the morning glare that I'm receiving here, which is because I'm on the other side of the planet. A book series called Timmy the Ticked-Off Pony. I have another book series called Death Metal Emo Elves, which is about elves who learn how to rock. I've worked on Underdog, Oggy and the Cockroaches. Lots of things. I've been around for a while with splutterings here and there of bits and pieces.
Yeah, love it. And for the record, it's 8:00 here, and you have been so patient and kind with me in helping me do my time zone math. I thought I was pretty good at it, and then I think
we got a day wrong.
Yeah. and yesterday I would have totally jumped in, but I was driving when we were messaging, and I was on my way back from Heroes Con in Charlotte, and I thought there's no way I could safely do a podcast while driving. But thank you for your patience with me. I didn't do well at word problems as a kid. You can probably tell.
Love it.
So what was it about comics? What was it about the world of comics that drew you as a creator? And I'm also going to shout out Sheldon back there while we're talking.
Sheldon's here as well. Yeah, I was. What drew me to comics? I love the pun, by the unintentional pun of what drew me to comics. What drew me to comics is, so when I was an awkward kid, I talked funny, very painfully shy. And if it was like, I'm older now, I was born in the early 1970s, and if I was a teen now, I'm sure I would have been diagnosed with something, or like some kind of neurodivergency. But then you were just a weird kid, and I grew up in a small beach town, and if you didn't play footy, which is Australian rules football, if you didn't play footy and you didn't surf, then you weren't quite right. And I didn't do those things. So but I found that drawing, I got that really positive feedback that I so wanted. This is my thing. This is my thing that I'm good at. When you get to start a class project and it's a drawing, and everyone looks at you, this is your chance to shine, kind of thing. And so I always knew that I wanted to be, I guess, a cartoonist. I guess was I have a very cartoony style. It's kind of like how I expressed myself. Words I've always struggled with. Pictures, though, that's how I love to communicate, and that's where I've always had my sort of positive feedback. I'm quite the praise monkey, and I really love to get that. Even now, I really love to get that.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So I kind of just ran with it, and I wasn't sure what exactly wanted to do, whether it would be animation or kids' books or comic strips or comic books. But I kind of found in comic books there was a more space to play, more space, to express myself. Here in Australia, we don't really have a comic industry. It's very very indie. It's very sort of hands-on. So if people want to make a comic, you just make a comic and find a place to put it out there. But I always wanted to make a living from it. And in saying that, I'm still struggling to make a living from it. I work part-time, 12 hours a week. I work this might be a weird concept. So it's an outreach needle and syringe program. So 3 evenings a week, I drive around and give clean injecting equipment to drug users. And the other times, and then the rest of the time, I'm drawing cute rabbits. So yeah, it's quite a mix. So I do even now tend to. I do conventions. I'll do comic workshops. I will, I illustrate books. I draw comics. Just anything to kind of survive in some way. As long as I'm drawing, as long as I'm making something, I'm happier. I do worry that sometimes I don't have enough coping mechanisms outside of that, because everything I do kind of revolves around me drawing, me giving feedback, and like this kind of continuous kind of cycle. And when that goes, because that will go, will I be happy? I hope so. I hope I can look back at life and go, oh, I did this and I did that, and it was a really nice thing to have done, if you know what I mean.
You've put a lot of good out in the world, and I mean that's a connecting theme with your part-time job as well. It seems to be sort of serving others and finding these ways to be kind to others. And
I didn't want to sell things. I would never I wouldn't be good in that kind of context. I'm better at making things and hoping to. This is going to sound a bit dicky, but hoping to leave the space in a kind of nicer place than what I left it. I have people when I go there, people will back. Oh, he was all right. He didn't make the situation worse.
Right. He did no harm. Yeah.
He did his best.
I mean, that in itself is high praise, because there are lots of people that it seems don't. So that's great. And you have this impressive body of work that is already out there and is in the world, ready and open for readership and viewership. So
it is nice. It is nice. Yeah. I've got them. Yeah, it's been good. And this year's, but it's funny. Last year I had hardly any work, and I was just producing stuff for myself, trying to pitch it out. But this year so far has been insanely busy, which is kind of the life of the freelancer, and who knows where it will go from there. So it's been interesting. I do like to work. If I'm working, I'm happier just in general.
Do you have favorite collaborators, people that you've had really positive experiences with, or even publishers that seem to be especially kind?
Yeah, so Simpsons Comics was with Bongo Comics was a joy, and I know I appreciated it at the time as well. So I freelanced for them for about 8 years before they finished up, and what a lucky coincidence for me to score that gig. So what happened was, in Australia, I was doing these. We had these magazines that you could buy at the supermarket, but they all kind of finished up, and I was drawing little comics for those. And I went to my local supermarket and I picked up a Simpsons comic, and it all looked really good except for one page that was kind of off model. And I thought I could just about, if I tried really hard, I could just about be the worst Simpsons artist on the title. And people don't believe me how crappy my original pictures were, but I'm so thankful that they saw something in my work, and they started using my work mainly as backup stories. But what's really cool about working on something like The Simpsons, people believe that you know what you're doing. When you've gone, oh, I've done this, so you must know what you're doing. When it's really just a big bluff. So I've really sort of ran with that. Like here in Australia, I'm like known as like the Simpsons guy. He's worked on The Simpsons, so
nice, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of really nice, and I like to think I'm trying to be a nice ambassador for that brand because it's such a lovely title and such so they were such good people to work with. So that was an absolute joy. Also, I have to mention working with Scotty Young, which was just amazing. So how that came about, I was just on Facebook and he sent me a friend request. I thought, oh shit, Scotty Young sent me a friend request. It's kind of cool. And if you're outside the circles of comics and most people would know Scotty Young's work, certainly within the comic field. But he was incredibly generous, and he said, "Oh, would you like to do a pin-up?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'd like to do a pin-up." I have no idea how he found me. I don't know how I've never asked. I did a pin-up, and he liked it. He said, "Oh, would you like to do this an issue?" So I drew issue 13 of I Hate Fairyland, which was kind of like a dream for Larry the Fly about what his life would be without Gert. It was a really nice story. So that was a few years ago, and then maybe last year or the year before, maybe last year. So then Scotty approached me again. He had started this Substack thing, and he was inviting other creators to play in the world of Fairyland. So I got to do 3 stories in an anthology series called The Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland, and that was an absolute joy. So I got to write and draw those. So they're coming out now through Image. So the first one hits the stands later this month, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that earlier.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it was it's kind of the I Hate Fairyland world kind of suits my style and sense of humor. So it was just such a nice fit, and working for Scotty was like, is this okay? I go, yeah, great. So go for it. To allow someone to have just like free range on your characters that you put your heart and soul in is quite amazing. But he was very generous. So yeah. Never met him. I don't want to say like, oh, we're besties or anything like that. Even with when I worked for The Simpsons, I didn't speak to anybody for the whole time. It was all over email. And as an introvert, that's kind of cool. And but I did get to meet a couple of the creators. Nathan Kane, my editor for a long time at San Diego Comic Con when I went over a few years ago. So nice. that was nice. That was good. Yeah.
I waved at Scotty Young at Heroes Con. So we're basically best friends now. Basically.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
What's that?
Sorry, go on. I heard he was there. I think he was doing some live drawing there because you've just come back now, haven't you, from Heroes Con? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still going on, but yeah, he was there.
So which con? Where in the States are you?
I'm in North Carolina, so that was just a couple of hours away from me.
Okay. So that's nice, kind of handy.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing, and from what I've heard, it's one of the better ones. So,
yeah, that's nice. I'm a bit jealous because being here, of course, we have conventions, but there's not as many, and you don't get to see as your heroes as much,
Yeah. Lots of email communication as the creator. That's what I'm getting, is that they're collaborative projects, but very often you have to sort of go out of your way to connect, even if you're in the same country borders, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So yeah, it's I think it's weird at the moment. I'm doing a comic for a Scottish publisher, which is so it's kind of it's nice. It feels like again, because we don't have a huge industry there, you have to kind of cross borders to get any kind of work, really. So yeah, I don't mind. It's nice. It's fun.
Yeah. It's always nice too when you get a friend request or someone follows you who happens to be someone you admire, like you were talking about Scotty Young. And always nice when you look at it and you realize it's not like a bot or someone that's just sort of I've had that happen a few times. Like, really? Neil Gaiman? Neil Gaiman does not.
What?
Not it.
No. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say you were talking about the humor as well in your books, which is something that I absolutely love because humor is I can read a book that rips my heart out and that is
Mm.
emotional and makes me depressed about life for a while, but humor is just a go-to for me and it's just a great way to process. Summer 2020, I was watching stand-up comedy
Mm.
from time to time just to sort of, look around and reflect. Um,
Yeah, and get through. Yeah. Mm.
so I also appreciate that about your books that you have a taste for humor, both of the Rick and Morty sensibility as well as the and itty bitty bunnies sensibility as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that's partly because of my drawing style being so cartoony. Like so much of what I do is humor based, but it's interesting. I don't think if you said to me, "Oh, can you write a joke?" whether I'd be able to do it. I'm not like I'm not sure exactly how that's all broken down as a process, but I tend to err on satire and what I find funny. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's how I was talking earlier about my possible diagnosis, that the things that I guess maybe I kind of feel not as much anymore, but it felt like kind of an outcast, like someone looking in from the out. Like I've never been good at joining groups or being a part of a team. Um, that there seems to be like a hidden understanding of friendships that I can't quite get. The but I think all of my stuff in some ways is about sort of broken people, broken bunny rabbits, trying to understand the situations or figure things out. So yeah, I like it. I like what I write now. I like how I draw now. That wasn't always the case. But what I like about it is it's very much an expression of my insides coming out. I
Love that.
do that, and I think sometimes things that I would have considered um, a, um, a disability, but I don't know, a hindrance about how I process things or how I express myself is actually what makes my writing and my drawing fun. So it's kind of taking what is something that could be a negative into a positive. I think. I hope. Did I explain that okay?
Yeah, I love that. I love
Okay.
that. Um, yeah, I had a student ask me last month about adult friendships and making friends as you get older.
Mm.
And the gist of the question was, do you have a lot of friends? And I was saying, well, over time as an adult, as you go through years and decades, you have that closer and closer circle. And so it's
Mm.
not as much like, and I feel like you also get to that place where you're thinking, well, I don't have to fit in everywhere. I don't have
Yeah.
to change myself to fit in. Um, and so you almost, and one of my friends pointed this out, you learn more about what you're looking for in friendships as
Yeah.
you get older,
Mm.
it seems like.
Mm. Mm. Oh, I can agree more. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I look back on some of how I've responded to friendships or kind of parties. It's very sort of performative in some ways, and now I go, oh look, I don't need to do that. I don't need
Right,
to,
right.
I don't need to do the small talk. I don't need to, be the life of the party anymore. Like, if I want to, I'll party on. But if I don't, I can go home and pet my cat. It's fine. you know.
I've had experiences like that too, and the artistic sensibility that you bring and that so many artists bring is that sort of outside looking in, but that's also part of
Mhm.
your power. It's part of your gift for
Yeah,
seeing the
yeah.
world and rendering it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So it's not all bad.
No, no, not at all, not at all.
no, no.
And then readers get to enjoy the process of looking at the books. And you mentioned when you first were doing The Simpsons, you were looking at it and you weren't pleased with it. And it's funny because I was listening to a YouTube video of an artist earlier today, basically saying that every time she looks at her art, she doesn't feel like it's what she wants it to be, and you just have to get to that place where you go, I'm just going to keep putting it out there, just going to keep doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the eternal struggle. I think any internal struggle of all artists. I think we look at our work and go, oh, "Wish I'd done that." And there's some previous work I'm just horrified by. I just can't bring myself to look at. But I try to be a little bit more philosophical about it now that I can go, well, this is the best I can do in my current circumstances on my deadline, and I've got to get this panel finished, and I'll have to move on to my next panel, and hopefully I can do better on that one. But I used to look back and really hate my work, like just really despise it. But I think, I'm not sure if it's because I've got better over time, or if it's just become, okay, I just need to be a bit nicer to myself, that I think I can look back like on my body of work and be, pretty proud of it. I've done some cool stuff, so and continuing to look forward to producing more work, it's kind of, I was thinking the other day, when I get close to the end of a project, I think, oh, I hope I don't die, right? This podcast has gone to a dark place. I hope I don't die and don't get this done, because I'm so close to finishing it. Recently I've just been doing a Where's the Easter Bunny book for Scholastic. So it's like a sea of rabbits, right? But these are nice rabbits, not like my other rabbits.
Right.
Like kind of like a Where's Wally? You have Where's Waldo or Where's Wally there in the States? Where's Wally? In the States,
Waldo.
Do you have a Waldo? Where's Waldo? Where's Waldo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they change the name depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So Where's Waldo? It's that kind of thing you're trying to find the Easter Bunny. It's a hell of a lot of work, and I was working on the cover. I hope I don't die, because I really want to finish this cover and have this out, right? But as instantly when I had that thought, though, I thought, the likelihood, though, is that I am going to die when I've got a project unfinished. Do you know? And in some ways, I hope I do. I hope that I've always got maybe something on the go. When I'm in the old people's home, if I make it that far, I really want to still be doing something, whether it's just for myself or for publication. I want to die with something unfinished. If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a testament that you love what you do.
I think so.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And then sometimes people finish those for other people. And there are people that died years ago that are still publishing books, but their name's at the top in large letters and someone else's name is at the. It's amazing how that happens. But yeah.
But I think it's great. I would like to. Yeah, I just want to be able to keep going as long as I can. In saying that, it's hard. It's like when I was a kid dreaming of being an illustrator or a cartoonist, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be and how much work you have to do. Mm-hmm. I think in some ways that's, have you seen the comics broke me hashtag?
Yes,
recently?
I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah. And I just looking up some of these stories, I go, wow, I've been there. I've done that. It was like really resonated with me. Some of these things that these creators go through, and it's like that constant, like the hustle trying to get work, and then the grind trying to get done. And sometimes you don't get paid enough for what you're doing, and I feel you sort of get taken advantage of because this is a really cool thing to be working on. So it's that kind of that balance. So I feel like I'm making better decisions now in some ways, but also just the system itself. So it's funny because I look back and go, I've worked on this and this, and then it brings back memories of, that was a hard period of time in my life that I was working on that, or I got really bad page rate for that. So it's not as sort of clean, if you know what I mean. I can't just look at it and No, sometimes I can. Simpsons, I can. You know, I
Yeah.
Hate Fairyland. I can look back and go, wow, that was special.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and hopefully, some of the good that comes out of the hashtag, for one thing, is that people know, hey, this happens, and there
Mm,
does need to be a balance there. Um,
mm.
so hopefully, there's some good critique of the system too, and
I hope so. I hope so.
yeah.
I think so, particularly some of the publishers that I think they really need to look at their page rate and their expectations
Mm-hmm.
on creators of how much they want to get out. It's very competitive. It's a very competitive kind of field, and um, um, in some ways, I feel like I've kind of found a happy place. Like not because I will never work for the big two. I will never work for Marvel and DC, and that's fine. My style just does not fit into what they do. It'd be wonderful if something magical happened, but like it's just not my reality. But to be able to go, oh, I can do this though. There's book publishers who really like graphic novels now. There's scope. It's not just when we think comics, we often think, oh, just the big two, but we don't have to. It's not bound by that. There's European publishers and there's different kinds of stories that are told in the medium. So that's nice to be able to go, oh yeah, okay, I don't need to put all my stock into this kind of thing. I can vary it into other places.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking with another creator, and he was talking about Raina Telgemeier and
Oh yeah, yeah,
Scholastic, First
yeah.
Second, Random House.
Mm.
All of these publishers, Little Brown, I think, is starting to do
Mm.
graphic novels,
Yeah,
Abrams. So I want that to continue and to grow,
yeah.
and I want that to expand even more for
Mm.
people to have opportunities to work in good situations and share what they want to.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also just availability you were saying for like as a teacher, for your I think that comics is such a great medium for reading and for understanding and there's I think they're like basically subversive in what stories you can tell in the comics
Absolutely.
medium. There's was it like there's a recent they were nominated for Ring Eisner, I think, but it's about a trans person's experiences in high school. Life in Hell, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's called. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's
Yeah,
amazing. Very, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So
It's
good.
like
And then,
Welcome to Saint Hill or something like that,
yeah, that's
maybe.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. I shouldn't do this. I always do this. Like,
Oh
I
no, it's
start to
good.
talk about. You have no idea what the name is, or yeah, but that's great. So I think those kinds of I find it amazing that comics can tell those kinds of stories. I tend to be very, I don't know, pretty lowbrow in the kind of stories that I like to tell. But the scope that there's all kinds of, the medium is so broad that, there's a danger if we just focus on the superheroes, I think.
Yeah, yeah, you could do a lot. And I'm actually glad you mentioned that because I've been trying to think of the name of that book. That's Welcome to
Yeah,
Saint Hill by Lewis Hancock.
yeah, so
Yeah,
good. Mm,
yeah,
mm,
and I think the possibilities of comics are getting more attention, which is really
mm.
nice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Mm.
so it's good that people are seeing them as legitimate and enjoyable reading materials at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. It wasn't that long ago that you couldn't get a comic in a library. We always had Tintin and Asterix. Well, we did those, but that was all. But it's nice to see now. Like there's graphic novel sections, or there's comics within the adult titles. That kind of thing. Because it's such scope. Mm. So yeah, it's good.
So as we're coming down to our last couple of minutes, I always like to save space for upcoming titles, upcoming events, web spaces where you stay active, anything like that that you'd like to share for
Oh,
listeners that want to
looks lovely.
connect.
Yeah, well, where to begin? So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Dean Rankine is if you like cat videos, particularly, you should follow me.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So please check out the Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland, which is coming out. It's a 5-issue anthology. I've got work in the first 3 issues. yeah, Scotty Young's world is amazing, and yeah, it's lots of fun. I'm really proud of the work. I'll show once again, Death Metal Emo Elves. You have to get that online. It's that kind of, it's like a young reader. It's like a young reader kind of thing with not much writing. This is the first one, yeah. And I've got the new one coming out in August, Death Metal Emo Elves and the Magic Pick of Awesomeness.
Love it.
They're a lot of fun. So yeah, and yeah, so that's all I really want to talk about, I think. But it was really lovely. Thanks for the day we could do it, and it was nice to have a chat.
Oh, yeah, great to talk to you. Thanks for saying yes, and thank you again for being patient with my management of time zones and finding the time. So, yeah, always glad to talk with you, and always glad to share about your work.
Cheers. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.